We've Galéir Accordia August Thofoil Road. Welcome to Be My Guest with me, Mary Honan, on Lear Media TV, supporting the Samaritans, Limerick and Tipperary, Clare's Wish Foundation in Limerick, and Deel Animal Rescue in West Limerick. And speaking of West Limerick, my lovely guest today is Joann O'Connor from West Limerick, from Tournafulla in West Limerick. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, how are you doing, Mary? It's nice to be here.
You've been a busy bunny today. Calls and everything. You're a banjo. Well, to say that you go as Banjoanne.
That's right.
But to say you're a banjo player is an extreme understatement, because you're absolutely a multi-instrumentalist. I was told about you by our equally lovely, fabulous friend Michael Dillon, all the way in San Francisco, but originally from Kilkishen. That's
right.
He told me, he said, you have to get on to Banjoanne. He said, she's absolutely fabulous. So how did you get interested in music in the start? I know you went to Irish dancing as well.
That's right. Well, where I grew up in Tournafulla, I now live up in County Meath, but my roots are firmly rooted in Tournafulla. Growing up at home, I don't know if you're familiar with Tournafulla, but it's extremely remote, and certainly was when I was growing up. I mean, you were over 40 miles from Limerick City, and there was nothing close by. And the only things that there were you had music, singing, dancing, and GAA, you know. Yeah. So everybody played GAA, you know. That was it, you know. You didn't have a choice, and it's not even that you didn't have a choice, you just did it. And it was the same, really, I think, for the music end of it. Everybody that I knew played music. And then my own family also. My father is a musician. My mother played music, and she was a fantastic singer, the most incredible voice. And her mother had been a singer. Her father was a musician, and my own father's family, all musicians. So I suppose I was born into it, and then I was also surrounded by it, because everybody around me played it.
That doesn't sadly guarantee that you will have your own or be lucky enough to fall into it yourself. I mean, I came from a very musical family, both sides of me, and there was instruments being an only child, instruments being got from, no, all I wanted to do was dance. And now it's my greatest regret that I didn't learn the piano, or like your lovely daughter, the harp. That was my favorite.
It's funny you say about the piano, because I play piano, I play trad piano. And I've often spoken to people who said, oh, you know, listening to you playing the music, and isn't it great? I played piano, and I wish I'd kept it up. And I say, and I think that's where I was lucky, in that music is a sociable thing, and it's meant to be sociable. Like, that's why a lot of piano players give up. They're doing grades, they're sitting in a room. And in the years gone by, a piano, for instance, was a very unsociable instrument. It's not like you could pick up a piano and bring it with you. Now we have our electric pianos. It goes over my back in a bag.
I have one there, and I'm dying
off with me.
It's not a keyboard, a Yamaha keyboard that we were given here in the station, and I'd love to learn it.
But as I say, I think there was music, there was set dancing, Irish dancing, and music taught in the primary school. But there were constantly events going on throughout the year at home, and little concerts and sessions. And as school children and as kids, we were all, you know, brought in to be part of it. Yeah. And it was fun. It really was fun. So I suppose from a very young age, I associated the music with a fun time. We did little concerts every year. And my grandmother, Mary Murphy O'Connor, she used to run single-handedly for a number of years, which is fantastic. She used to run a Féile Ceol in Tournafulla on the August bank holiday weekend. And one person running this on her own. They came from all over to it. Like, it was really surprising how far away people would travel. And she would ask the people living in the village if she could borrow their garages, their car garages, and they would clear them out. And my grandmother had this an amazing way about her. Whatever she'd ask somebody to do, they would just do it for her. She was a fantastic lady. She really was. And so they clear out their garages, the chairs and the tables would be brought in, and the adjudicator would be adjudicating in a garage, in a house garage at the side of the house. And then also, as part of that Féile Ceoil, she ran, and I don't know, do you know Marie Casey?
Yeah.
And you know Patsy Fitzgerald and that, and Maureen Murphy of Abbeyfield, who was my dance teacher. But Patsy Fitzgerald and the Caseys, Marie Casey and their mother, Mairead, they, as part of the Féile Ceoil for my grandmother, ran.
Marie judged my dance championships one time.
Oh, she's a doe. She is. She's just the best. She is.
Yeah, she teaches kind of with she's in Tipperary.
Okay, well, Marie and I were in the one class going up through school, but they ran a feis, a dancing feis, as part of the Féile Ceoil, and that dancing feis was quite a big feis. It really was, and it took up the whole day. There were competitions going on in all the garages, and then there would be busking going on Tournafulla was a one street village, you know, with a big gap in the middle between the church and school and then the rest of the village. And there would be sessions going on outdoors, and then it would finish up with a céilí that night. And at the céilí, you have a band and you'd have all your céilí dances. And I can remember as a child, that was the only social night out you had in the whole year. And I would save the nice clothes for it. You'd get dressed up and you'd go to it and you'd dance all night. So I had all of those type of things, I think, to look forward to. And then I was lucky with the adult musicians around me that they involved me in and asked me to be part of, we'll say, group of ceoils and céilí bands for fleadhs and that. And sure, the friends you made and the crack you had heading off to the fleadhs, we camped. And I think, and that's why I say to parents today as well, when I'm teaching music, you know, they're never going to stay at it if you don't create
an
social atmosphere around it. They have to be a part of something. They will not go, and I say about young kids, I say, don't force them to practice in a room, you know, leave them to me. I will have them as part of various activities, various groups.
True, though, because when you look at the schools in Irish dancing that had a more sociable aspect, I know Celine Penny, when I did my teacher's exam, Celine said to me, would I come and give her a hand with the classes? And I could see that the children were involved. It wasn't just about Irish dancing, it was about so much more. A lot of them did dance choreographies and everything. Those children that would never win a world or never win an All-Ireland or a Munster or be champions, they were all part of something. The O'Rourke's the same. People like that, you know, that went away and did tours. So it became much more of a social life, and especially for children like yourself who were out in the country, away from the city slickers like us. But I think you had it far better off in the countryside than here in the city. We had discos and we had everything around us, but you know, you had to travel, or you weren't so much immersed in the cultural side of things unless your family were.
You're right.
Whereas in the county it was almost a rite of passage that you became involved in music or dance or cultus or organizations like that, where they encourage the arts, the cultural Irish arts.
And as I said, you had only a few activities that you could be a part of. And I mean, I know I myself living in Ashburn now, and when I moved here first, we chose here because it was a little village. And though I was working in Dublin, my husband working in Dublin, We loved the community spirit here in Ashbourne, and great GA club and fantastic music. A lot of other musicians who'd moved in here, and I got that real village community feel. Sorry?
In Meath, is it?
I'm in County Meath, yes.
I actually thought you were still in Tournafulla.
No, I live in County Meath now. Yes.
Oh, you've emigrated.
I've gone along. You know, it's funny, I'm gone a long time, but I'm not gone. You know, my heart will always be back at home. And I get slagged a lot saying, oh, you can take the girl from West Limerick, but you can't take West Limerick from the girl. Because I'm known as the polka and slide banjo player, you know, because not too many banjo players will try the polkas and slides, whereas I love playing them on the banjo. But again, I was reared with them. But I find where I'm living here now, when we moved here first, it was remote. Well, not as remote as Tournafulla, but much more village-like. But over the last number of years, it has become a satellite town of Dublin, and it has grown so much. And I put a lot of work into the music here with the kids and that. And honestly, over the last 5-6 years, it has dwindled away. And the reason being is, as you said, far too many activities to choose from. And they don't stick at any one thing.
It's overload.
Yeah,
I mean, children in dancing, you're teaching children in dancing, and you know that they're going to speech and drama, music, languages. There's going to a Gael school, studying French in the evening. They're doing, as I say, music, speech and drama. They're probably having singing lessons, and they're in the GA, or they're horse riding. And you're saying, how can they do it? Everything. It's nice to say join this and join that for a while, but you pick one thing and be good at it. And teach children from an early age to focus.
Yeah. And I that's what I've actually done with my own 2 kids. I always said, we'll pick 2 things. So my son is 11, GAA, and he's hurling mad. I'm delighted to say, even though it's a predominantly football county here, we're very lucky. We're Dunamore Ashbourne GA club here, and there's a lot of hurling here. So he plays both, but he prefers the hurling. So I'm a happy Limerick woman for that. But he does GAA and he plays music. And they are his 2 things. My daughter, no interest in the GAA, but her 2 things are music and Irish dancing. And she dances with, I don't know if you know Deirdre Cadwell.
I do.
Yes, well, she dances with the Cadwell Court School of Dancing. And she started with them when she was 3.5, 4, and she's still with them. She's 14 now. And they're
there as well in Meath, Jackie O'Leary.
Yes.
But Jackie emigrated. I remember interviewing her on a radio station when she emigrated to Canada, and she was just heartbroken and missing home. And about a year later, I was talking to her, and she was just fine. She loves it now in Canada.
That's
and
brilliant.
I think it was just, not so much missing the place, but her mother being here in Ireland. I think when your family, wherever your family are, you'll settle.
Yeah.
And the fact that she could come home to the World Championships and the All Irelands meant every year, twice a year, meant that it was worth it to just have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But your daughter's with Deirdre.
She's with Deirdre and Linda and Vicky now. Vicky's doing most of the teaching now, Deirdre's daughter, Deirdre's kind of retiring back. But they've been fantastic to Aisling over the years, and she loves them, and she loves the Irish dancing. She doesn't compete anymore. She just does show dancing because, like myself, I did the dancing when I was young, but I was more drawn to the music. Yeah. So I preferred playing for the dancing. And in fact, for the 25th anniversary of the Commission Worlds, if you have that video, you'll see me playing on the stage at one point on it, which was nice to be a part of. But I also, while I loved the Irish dancing, we also grew up with set dancing and Cayley dancing, and we danced all the sets. So I love set dancing. I love the Cayley dancing, and I would have gone very much then into sort of set dancing over the years. And my husband, Fran Meehan, who's from Dublin.
Donegal. Is he from Donegal?
No, he's not. He's from Dublin.
Why is he wearing Donegal's sweater in the?
No, he's not. He's wearing a Donaghmore Ashburn sweater, the local GA club here. Yeah.
Pat Barry here, who's a Corkman and a hurler. He says that's a Donegal sweater.
No.
Wonder is it? Because we were looking and it and
no, you would have probably seen the Dun. That's Donaghmore Ashburn. That's our local GA club here. So both he and my son were playing their Donaghmore Ashburn jerseys. And Fran is very much a GA man, so he's very involved now here with the club as well, which is great. And in fact, actually, speaking of the club, when we moved here first, Meath was the only county in Ireland that had never won an All-Ireland score title. So Fran, my husband, myself, and
we put a stop to that.
Tom O'Shaughnessy, who's originally from Dublin but lives here as well, Hugh Grogan and Peter Farrell, two fine Tyrone musicians, but living here as well. So the five of us, we were asked, would we represent Donaghmore Ashburn in score for the music? So in 2001, we represented the club and we won the All-Ireland down in Killarney, actually, and we had one hell of a weekend. So as I said, I have my All-Ireland GA medal. So we laughed at the time, saying it took 5 outsiders to come in and win an All-Ireland for me.
You're like the musical version of the Von Trapp family singers. Minus a few members. But when I saw you playing on the videos you sent me.
But you know, I love that. I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm actually self-taught on all the instruments, more or less. On banjo, I always wanted to play banjo. I can remember Donald DeBarra, or Danny Barry as we'd know him well at home, but he'd be more well known as Donald DeBarra in the music circles, and a fantastic musician, accordion player. And he was starting up the music classes at home. And we would have known him. I would have known him since I was very young. In fact, he used to play in my grandfather's dance band when they were young. And I have a newspaper clipping from 1962 on an article in the Irish press, I think it was, about them. And but Donald was starting up the music classes. I was 6 at the time. And I can remember coming home to my mum. I still remember this vividly. And standing on the doorway going into the kitchen, and I said, Mum, the teacher announced today that Danny Barry is starting music classes in the school and I'd like to learn. And she says, right, I'll buy you a tin whistle. I says, but I don't want to learn the tin whistle. I want to learn the banjo. And then she says, but you're too small for the banjo. You'd have to start on the tin whistle. And I can remember vividly my actions. And I went, but why would I have to learn this to play this? I couldn't get my head around why I'd have to start on a tin whistle in order to play a banjo. It's like this. So I said, no, I don't want to learn tin whistle. I have no interest in tin whistle. And it's the one instrument I don't play. I never learned tin whistle.
You had no idea whether your poor mother was saying, look, I can afford a tin whistle, but I can't afford a banjo.
But we had a banjo. We had a banjolin, which was a miniature mandolin in the house. So I knew we had one. I said, no, that's what I want to learn. And it was a mandolin, but looked like a banjo. So I was happy. So off I went to the classes, and like that, all my peers were doing it, and we had great fun. And he was a fantastic teacher. And again, and that's the other thing, is how the music is taught plays a big part in whether a child keeps at it or not as well.
No, it's everything. I think it's language as well. I always
absolutely
we get caught up in this country. We go from babies to 50 to college, and we don't know. We come out and we hardly know how to say our names in Irish because we've never really spoken it. It's all done through grammar and correcting and rote, instead of through fun.
And that's why, I mean, I actually work in a Gael school now, and so I'm speaking Irish all the time, which is great. So it really brought it back for me. And my kids are there, and the actual school does music, GA, loads of extra activities all through the Irish language. So as a result, and that's what I wanted, was my own two kids to grow up with a love for the language. And the same with the music. So the love for the music grew with me then. And sure, we were off somewhere every week to something music, and
to practice as well without realizing you're practicing.
Totally. And you know, and this is something I can remember being said to me as a child, and I use it as a teacher. And as I said, the same goes for the language. My music teacher, I only had him for a few years because then I was on my own, but his enthusiasm and love for the music came across to us, you know, and he created fun for us. And I try and do the same now when I'm teaching, is have a bit of crack with them, build up a rapport. And I use the line that was used on me when I was young, because I think it's fantastic. And I say it to parents, I say, never use the word practice. Don't tell them to practice, because practice is like a chore. They have to practice homework. They don't use that word. And I remember it being said to me, and when I was young, being told, did you know that you don't have to practice? If you took it out and played it for 10 minutes every day, you'd never have to practice. And that stuck in my mind. And I went, God, yeah, that's right. And I use the same now teaching. And I say, not at all, you don't have to practice at all. Play it for 10 minutes every day.
They say if you work at I keep on using this phrase to people, if you work at something that you love doing, you'll never work a day in your life. Or if you spend your life doing something that you enjoy doing, you'll never work a day in your life. No matter how many hours you put in of practice, if that's what gives you a buzz, if practice gives you a buzz, fine. But if you're the type of person that gets enjoyment and looking at the photo behind here of you, that's practicing. When you go out on the street and you busk, or you go to the Willie Clancy School, or you go to a Vela, or you go wherever and you're playing with other people. You're learning from them, they're learning from you.
Absolutely.
Your music, in a sense, is a language that you've found to correct their language, and vice versa. It's almost like somebody speaking French to you, or you're speaking French and they correct your French, they correct your grammar. That's the best way of learning a language, is to be corrected as you're talking rather than as you're remembering from rote. You know, it has to be, I think, something like that. Language and music and dance have to be something innate. They have to be something you want, that you bring out of yourself, rather than something that's forced upon you.
Yeah, but like that. but like that, like no, I don't know that there are very many children who will want to bring it out themselves initially. And that's why as a teacher, then you find ways of bringing it out. Like I teach for a cultist branch in Dublin, the Crave Sean Tracy branch. And at the moment, all our classes are through Zoom. So I have Cléilí Band and I have Group of Ceol. So the Group of Ceol is you've 20 kids on Zoom. And the end game there, the end goal is you would work on your performance during the year, and then you perform in the FLA come next May. You start September, but we haven't had that last year or this year. So I said, let's do some video projects. So I got their input on it and started doing guide tracks and that. So at Halloween, we had a bit of crack. We did the Addams Family. So and what I did then was I brought it in with a trad piece. So in order to have the fun with the Addams Family, they had to bring in their trad piece of music. For Christmas, we did Christmas medleys and they all dressed up. And then that video went out. It's on Facebook under the actual Sean Tracy branch of Cultus page. And then again for St. Patrick's Day, we did medleys again and I put in some fun animation and got them to do fun things. And so far I'm holding them in there. And then each time then I'd say, let's pick our summer project and you guys can pick your summer project. And they actually chose that song Symphony, which is not a trad song whatsoever. It's a modern song.
But you can amalgamate the trad into it.
We're bringing a trad air into it. They're going to sing the song. I'm getting them to sing half of it in Irish and the other half in English. So I'm getting them to bring in the bit of language. They're going to have fun singing it. And they chose it. And it's keeping their interest going. And as I said, I do what it takes to keep them interested until we can get back face to face.
And as well as that, there may be some of them within the class who are actually artistic. Mm-hmm. So you could get them focused on creating backdrops that are of a traditional, a contemporary traditional image of how a modern song. Just say they chose "Clown" by Emily Sandé, and how would they represent that song in a contemporary Irish setting? What is the story behind the clown? What is she trying to say about the way management companies try to take you over and they try to take control of you? They get you to sign on the dotted line and sign away your life and your musical rights. How would you represent that in a backdrop that looked traditional but still told the story? See, I did my degree in art and design. Okay. And everything I think of, I'm always thinking, there's the creative children that are thinking, create artistically as well as musically, and to try and keep them interested as well, or their brains might be going around the art side of it as well. Get them to do the backdrops, props for you. And you'll have a really fully creative company.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I've got them involved in the animation and so on. And as I said, for the summer project, which then keeps them interested again from the last one that we did before Easter. And I got them to choose what they wanted to do and how we would put it together. And so their involvement is a massive part of it. So now then when it comes to September, and hopefully we'll be back face to face, I know for a fact I get them all back. And then I would have fun quizzes with them. I would do fun stuff with them at various times. And even when I had them face to face, I would do sort of team building nights with them, and we'd play fun games. And if they worked hard for me for a month, I'd say, right, that night then we'll do this and we'll have a little party. And that's what keeps kids interested, you know, and they go, oh my God, we'll work hard now for these few weeks and we have this to look forward to, and we're gonna all be able to just have the crack that night. And I think, you know, as I said, I never use the word practice. And I just, yeah, I try to just keep it as fun and as happy as possible for them. And so far it has sort of worked. And
correct them as they go along if they if they
oh
need
yeah.
And they don't feel like it's been done
No.
in a lesson way, that it's been done in. I mean, when I was in Bunratty and I do the translate, or I'd do the speeches in French, and people would come up afterwards. The Parisians are fantastic for correcting you. And when they'd see you'd make an effort at the French, they'd correct you. And that was fantastic, because you felt, well, I'm speaking it and they're correcting my grammar, which is perfect, which is what you want. And it's the same with music, I'm sure. You know, when you'd see somebody playing something, you'd say to yourself, oh, I should have actually, I should have probably played it that way, or I never thought you could play it this way, but hear somebody else. But do you want to play something for me there?
Well, I suppose I might play something from home. This is a tune that I composed going back. Actually, I composed it and put it in for the FLA in the newly composed music section in 2018. And the All-Ireland FLA, I was competing. I got through from county and provincial level, and I was competing in the All-Ireland. And the competition was on at the very, very same time as the All-Ireland hurling final, and Limerick was in it. So I ran in to play my my music piece, and then I literally ran out the door and into the pub next door to watch the match. And totally forgot about the competition, and my daughter decided she wanted to stay on and listen to the competition.
And Limerick won, so who cares?
So anyway, at half time in the match, I said, God, I better run into the hall and see if Aisling is still there. And in I went, and as I walked in the door, the adjudicator just goes, and here she is now. And everybody started clapping, and I had no idea what was going on. And with that, my phone pinged, and I looked at the message from my daughter saying, you won. So my tune was after winning the All-Ireland that day. I got my trophy, and so on and so forth. And then I said, right, that's it. I'm back out again to watch the match. And I got a phone call from one of my very, very good music friends, Attractive Brady, who was giving out kind of the cups, the perpetual cups. And she rang me from the Coltis headquarters there, and she goes, I heard the great news, congratulations, I'd like to present you with the cup myself, come on up to me. And I said, you must be kidding, you can give it to me tomorrow. I says, I'm not leaving the match. So it was a big day, because a Limerick tune won the All-Ireland in the FLA, Tournafulla reel. And then, and of course, Limerick won the hurling, you know. And I actually composed a tune then after that called The Green and White Limerick, that to go with the Tournafulla reel. So I might play the Tournafulla reel for you now, seeing as it's my own tune.
Limerick.
Yeah. Anyway, so sorry now, just tuning this here. Okay, so the Tournafulla reel.
That's fabulous. That brings me back so much to my time in Bunratty when one of my best friends, Carmel,
Yes.
used to be Carmel Gall. She was Carmel Hickey at the time, and she used to play the banjo. And that's how we got to know each other, and we've been friends now since
Oh, brilliant.
I'm thinking 1982. And she was just, she was a fabulous banjo player as well, and I don't think she didn't keep it up, but she should have,
That's busy.
but it's something you can always take up
Go back
again.
to, yeah.
That was
Totally.
fabulous. It reminded me, it was something we were talking about earlier when you were talking about you didn't want to play the tin whistle. I wanted to play the harp all my life since I was a child. And I said to my mum, and my dad was living in England, and I remember saying to her, I want a harp. And she said, if you're really good, there was just the two of us here. If you're really good, she says, I'll buy you a harp. I swear I could not have been better for, I'd say, 2 weeks. And next she came with this thing. I can still remember the disappointment with this tiny little harp for St. Patrick's Day for my jacket.
Oh no.
Lost in translation. I know I had an English accent at the time because I was just not long back from England. And I know she had difficulty understanding my dad at the best of times because she'd say, Mary, what's your dad saying? It couldn't have been that bad, the translation, because she thought it was one of these things.
Oh no. You wanted to play it.
So when you were talking about the tin whistle and you wanted to play the banjo, I thought of that. I really wanted a harp. But music has been, that was fabulous. That was simply fabulous. Music has been, I'd say, through COVID, it's been helpful that you grew up in Tournafulla in such a small area that you were used to the isolation, if you like, and you were used to making your own entertainment.
Yes, absolutely.
And have grown up being able to create their own entertainment. Do you think that post-COVID, this will be a wake-up call to people to get their children involved in creative things, in things that help them to actually be able to live in their own space?
I would hope so. And I think, I suppose one of the things that really you would hope parents would take from it is pull back on maybe some of the things that they had their kids involved in. And I have to say, I myself, when COVID happened first and we were locked down first, I was really enjoying it because I was constantly on the go, and it was quite exhausting. And particularly up here, you have traffic, no matter where you go, it's traffic. And it can be quite a rat race. And that's one of the things I miss from the country is that when I go out the door, I'm into tailbacks, and I really enjoyed the time out. And the other thing then was, again, like, while I was very involved in music, I was teaching music a lot, and I was teaching music 3 evenings a week here, one-to-one, and then out on Cultus branches, we'll say the couple of other evenings. And while the kids were with me and involved, us as a family, we were always away as a family. I mean, that's the one thing I've been doing with them since they were brand new babies. They're really fancy every year. They're at the Joe Mooney and Drumshambo. They're at all the Flas. They're at festivals everywhere. We're constantly gone to festivals. But us as a family, the 4 of us, we were never sitting down, just the 4 of us, and playing together and doing musical sort of projects or doing things ourselves. So when we got locked down last year, we started to do that and really started to enjoy it. So we became very, I think, tuned into each other musically. And we're still, a year later, still now, I think, having gotten a bit of confidence around that whole putting music items together, we're still at it, and trying out new things all the time. So it definitely, I think, reconnected us as a family unit musically. And while we were constantly involved in music, as I said, it just wasn't the four of us together. And when we'd be off at the festivals, which of course I love, my kids would be off with their friends and playing music with them, or off with them all the time. And that's absolutely what I wanted, because it was always my intention to build a social scene for them, so that as they're growing up, because honestly, hand on heart, I can say that music friends are the best friends you will have in your life, by a mile. And I have made many friends, be it through school, be it through different stages of my life. But the friends I made through music way back are still my very good friends today. And
because you have a commonality.
Yeah.
This common interest, and you can meet up regularly, and you don't even have to speak to each other.
Yeah,
Your music in effect becomes the language between you. It's when I was dancing, and especially, as I say, in Bunratty, when you'd be dancing with your dancing partners, you'd know when they were in off form, or they'd know if you were off form, even by the way you'd hold hands when you were dancing, or the way you'd there was that unspoken dialogue that went on, and it's that unspoken dialogue that goes on between musicians that sometimes supersedes language, physical language, that, and you have that with amongst your own people, amongst your own fellow musicians, and that's probably what bonds you, helps you a bit more as well.
Totally. And like, you mightn't see each other for a year or 2 years, and you just pick up where you left off. It's incredible. It can be hard to believe at times that you haven't actually met somebody in so long, because it's only like you were talking yesterday. And I love that. And I think, as I said, down through the years, the music friends, they were always a group of people I felt I could call on if I needed anything, or even just for support in any way. And I would have gotten very, very ill as a teenager when I was 16, and I developed Crohn's disease and got really ill. And to be honest, for the next 5 years, I spent most of my time hospitalized, because I was unresponsive to any treatments, medications. And finally, when I was 21, down at 5.5 stone at this stage, with the disease just so out of control that I had to have major surgery, and I had a few major operations. But unlike that, I was from Tournafulla. I wasn't yet kind of here as a teenager, but my hospital was the Mater Hospital in Dublin. And
you had your bowel removed.
I had my bowel removed, yes, when I was 21.
And did that help with the Crohn's disease?
It did for a couple of years. Now, the interesting thing is, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis initially, and definitely I would say I had ulcerative colitis, because the symptoms that I had, and was very, very ill, had the bowel removed, and that's the end of it. It's cured. But I had a great then 2 or 3 years, and then after about a few years, I started to develop different symptoms. And on this occasion then, as well as small bowel, my joints, which are at me big time at the moment, my joints, I started getting bowel obstructions, developing other symptoms that I'd never had previously. And then was back in hospital, and they told me that I had developed Crohn's disease. And they said while it's not common, it has been known to happen that you could end up developing the second illness when the first one is gone. So that I now have. So I'm kind of on constant, I'm in and out of hospital every now and again. But for the most part, having had the large bowel removed definitely improved my health massively. And I've definitely a much better quality of life than I had. But while I was in hospital all those times,
music.
Pardon me? The music. Like I had the earphones in, listening to I used to tape all the sessions, and then friends of mine sent me music tapes and so on. But not only that, I was up in Dublin, and the music, like my music friends traveled from all over the country. Like Maureen O'Brien, who I just adore, from the Irish School of Dancing, and Orla Nivreen. And they drove up at the weekends from Limerick to see me in hospital in Dublin. And Maureen got the train up on her own sometimes during the week to visit me also. I had friends, music friends from Kerry, from Cork.
She's a very special person, isn't she, Maureen? Because
she's just fantastic.
When I passed my TCRG, my teacher's exam, and again when I passed my adjudicator's exam, Maureen asked me to sign my name in Irish, and I did. And I had no idea for the TC what she was doing, and I sent it to her, and she went away and she got a stamp made out with my name, Maureen O'Connor, TCRG. And God, and she did the same with my AD. And I can remember for the first month when I was judging a fish, I was using the stamp all the time. It was a novelty. You didn't have to type anything out.
Fantastic.
Just stamp. It was fabulous. But she was so thoughtful.
Oh, just incredible. And as such a passionate person, such a strong love for the language and just the culture. And like I've traveled the world with Maureen and the Irish School of Dancing over the years, and played on part of the Planks to O'Rourke CD that was made going back some years ago on that, and had fantastic times. And then, as I said, when I was sick, they were there for me. And my musicians traveled from Galway, from Belfast, you name it, all over the country. And they kept me company because I was the eldest of 7. So there were still babies in the family at home, which meant my mum couldn't come up, and be with me. But the music friends, I just knew it. They would always, it's like they set up a rota, and they were always made sure there was somebody there to visit me, keep me company. And they'd make me laugh. And even on days when I'd have complications and that and might get a bit down, they would always be there to cheer me up.
You never forget that. And people talk about competition and everything like that. And I love competition. I think I have to be competing in something. If I'm learning something, I have to be either doing an exam at the end of it or a competition to see how I'm progressing. Otherwise, but at the end of the day, it's not whether you've won or whether you've lost. Really, and I know it's a cliche, but the things you remember the most are the Maureen O'Rourke's who actually come up to you when you're doing your adjudicator's exam and listen to you as you're crying the whole way home because you made a mistake in the exam, or which she did with me, and punch you in the shoulder to stop crying as you're driving the car on the way down. Stop crying. Remember, we ended up in Ballymun instead of on the Nace-Stool carriageway.
Oh, God.
And I was asking, where are we to these guys? And they said, you're in Ballymun. And we were trying to find the Nace-Stool carriageway back, and she was killing me for actually getting her out of the, I don't know how we ended up on the Nace-Stool carriageway, but we did. I was crying.
You got there in the end.
But it's those things you remember.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of there's a lot of life lessons to be learned. I encourage pupils all the time to compete, and like that, my daughter competed in the dancing. I competed myself when I was very young, but so we were more drawn to the music. But competing in the dancing, competing in the music, you learn fantastic life lessons from that. The same as doing the exams in the music. You have a goal, you have to work towards it, you have to stick with it, you have to see it through. You have to take the losses with the wins. So it really, I think, I notice a lot now in other circumstances, other things that I'm dealing with at the moment, and I see parents, take for instance, sports day in school, and a parent saying, well, I hope every child will get a medal now. It's not fair, and you're kind of going,
that is such a bad.
What are you teaching your child? They're going to get a bonus for turning up at work as an adult. So they have to learn to take the fall and so on. And that's why
they're going to lose relationships. They're going to lose job opportunities. They're going to fail exams. Everything in life, you learn as much from failure as you learn from success. You learn nothing from success, really.
Totally. Absolutely.
You learn everything from failure because, it teaches you to be I think perhaps because I failed so many times in my life, it's made me determined to keep going.
Get back up and get on with it again. Absolutely. And I see it even with my own kids now. I mean, it's in me. I'm an incredibly independent person. And I don't know that I know any musicians or dancers that aren't independent, because from a very young age, you're out there putting yourself, you're on a stage, you're having to be either compete or perform. It's so good for confidence building. And then, like, I can remember I teach at the Willie Clancy Festival every year, so I'm off teaching banjo. And my daughter, for instance, she was 7 the first year we put her into the concertina workshops. And some of my friends were horrified to hear this, right? Anyway, I said to my husband, right, drop her. And on the first day, let's work on building her independence now. So I remember at the end of the first day, we got back to the house afterwards, having lunch after the classes. And I said, how did it go? And she goes, oh, it was great, Mum. And I made some new friends. And we were on our break, and I was walking to the shop with them. And who did I bump into? Only Dad. And Connor and Dad got us ice creams in the shop. And then the next day she goes, Mom, you'll never believe, I bumped into Uncle James today, which is my brother. And I'd said to him, you go when it's break time, and just happened to be walking by. So even though she was not aware that she was being watched from a distance, but she was being allowed to be independent in a safe way. Then next year, a little bit of that again. By the time she was 9, there was nobody going checking on her, because I knew she was okay. And she's been doing that.
It's like Lacan, the philosopher, who talks about the baby stage, where you lift a baby up and the baby looks at itself in the mirror, and it sees its hands moving about, and it sees its legs, and it thinks it's actually moving autonomously from mother. It doesn't see its mother holding it up. And and the child, the human being is never more confident ever again in their life as they are at that particular stage.
At that particular time.
They can do anything. Look, I'm walking, I'm moving. You're not seeing the people that's holding you up. Gradually, as you start to get older, you start to think, I can do less and less and less without somebody helping me. So what you did was recreate that baby stage, like letting her see herself as being autonomous, when in actual fact you were there protecting her at every minute.
And like like she will say she plays classical as well, classical violin, and she loves it. And the reason she decided on the classical was she sang, and my son did it last year. She sang with her school as part of the Peace Proms concerts in the RDS. And she saw the orchestra, which was a youth orchestra, the Cross Border Orchestra of Ireland. And she was 8 at the time. And she said, I want to be in that orchestra when I'm older. So she asked for a violin. So we said, grand. And I thought she'd give that up after 6 months. Well, she got her distinction in her grade 7 last Friday. She's now on her grade 8. She's 14. But she joined that orchestra. She auditioned when she was 12, and she got her place in the orchestra. And at 12 years of age, her first concert with them was in the Liverpool Arena, the 3 Arena in Liverpool. And I brought her to the airport. She met with her group and her chaperone, and that was it. I said goodbye, and off she went at 12, off to Liverpool, made her way around the airport, you name it. And people were saying to me, oh my God, you left her off on her own. And I said, yes, I did.
I have to be honest, I could never envisage myself doing that.
Well, you see, I knew she was okay because they all had group leaders. They all had chaperones.
Oh, yeah.
It's very well run. I knew she was safe.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there. So it was giving her that independence.
Yeah.
To follow the group, to do what she needed to do, get herself on stage, dressed, ready, get herself rehearsed, do her performance, get herself back to the bus afterwards, at the hotel, etc. And I think where it really, really showed for me, I know she went to secondary school, and she was young going to secondary school. She was still 12. And she came from a class of 17 in school, a very, very small class, and into a secondary school of 150 in her year, never mind the rest of the school. And some of her peers who would have been, you know, the dominant ones when they were in primary school, and in that group of 17, they would have been the ones that were in the limelight and in the middle of it all the time. And she was always happy to kind of stand back. They absolutely couldn't cope when they went to secondary school. And they really, really struggled. And her end of year first year report, you know, I can't even remember what her results were. I know they were great in her in all her subjects. But the line or the paragraph that stood out for me, and I actually took a screenshot of it, and I have it in my phone, and it was the principal, or her Quavenor's comment, Aisling hit the ground running when she arrived to secondary school. She blended right in. Her ability to cope with a timetable, making her way to classes, making new friends. They said she just hit the ground running. And I went, there you go. That is what all those years of the experience of going off to workshops, having to be independent in the whole music scene, that's when it really, really showed.
Taking criticism is a big thing, because when children are in primary school, they're really babies, and yes, they have teachers who are probably strict and telling them what to do, but children nowadays don't like to be as much told, or are not used to it. Back to the, you know, can they all get a medal sort of a thing. Every child has to be praised, and every child has to be told that you can be anything you want to be in life. Well, the reality is you can't be anything you want to be in life. You can dream about being lots of things, but you can only be good at 1 or 2 things really, and really probably one thing if you're lucky in your life that you're really good at. And I think that's the message that parents should be, and teachers should be teaching children, is not to have unrealistic expectations. Yes, I might love to be go to the moon as an astronaut, but I'm never going to do it. One, I can't do maths.
But I think the other thing is,
want to go. I physically wouldn't ever want to go there anyway. Do you know? But you have to learn to know your and to take criticism, and I think that helps you through your whole life.
But as well as that, I think it's important to say to them, give it a try, work your hardest at it, and you will know then if it's for you or if it's not. But you will never know if you'll be a success at it if you don't work at it and give it at least a bit of time to see. I mean, nobody was born being able to be a world champion dancer. They have slogged. And, you know, and you hear people, be it dancing, be it music, and they say, oh, and I have it said to me, and as I have it said about my kids and that, and they say, you're so talented. And I kind of go, I have put hours and hours and hours of hard work into this. So it isn't all talent. It is a hell of a lot of hard work, you know, and a lot of hurdles to get over. And then you get to the point where it becomes easy and, you know, so on. But there's the hard work involved in the beginning. And I think the giving the medals for no reason and so on, that doesn't encourage the hard work. You know, it's just telling them turn up and you're going to get the bonus.
And when they go to secondary school or they go on to college and they find somebody that they like, a boyfriend or a girlfriend that they like, and then somebody else gets the boyfriend and girlfriend, and all these, and they go for a job and they lose out on the job. And they can't cope with the disappointment. They can't cope in college when the teachers are giving them bad results because they've always got good results. Or they're always told by their parents, you're wonderful and you can achieve anything you want in life. I understand why people do it. It's better than being negative with children. But at the same time, I think you have to teach children to work and to be able to take critique, constructive critique, you know, and I think that that's what music and dancing and the arts gives children. Do you want to play something else?
Now I actually I composed a waltz the other day, and I might give it a go actually. I might play it on the mandolin. But I actually, and I might send it on to you to add in with this. As I said, while I'm at home now, my project is putting sort of like musical medleys together, and I'm really enjoying that. I never get to play all my instruments together. So my only way of doing it is by recording them and then combining them.
And I hear people say that I never get to play in all my instruments.
No, but you know what I mean.
I wish I could play that piano that's over there. Or better still, one day I might actually learn.
But I taught myself piano, and I still sit down today and I spend hours still doing piano, learning new stuff. So again, a lot of hours of slogging. I taught myself fiddle. Again, I scrope and I scratched, but I stayed at it. And I think that's one of the things I learned was determination to keep at something, because I knew if you did, you could get there in the end. I think
that learning the piano is the greatest starter for everything, because I have two good friends, Madeline Meehan. She's Madeline White, her maiden name, and she's a fabulous harpist. She teaches the harp, but she also teaches the piano. And she always said to me, Mary, start with the piano. Anne Kerr, who's a most beautiful pianist from Donegal, and is an Irish dancing teacher. She taught many world champions. And she says the same thing, the piano is the first thing you should learn. But I'm thinking at my age, I'd probably want to go straight in for the harp.
But you know what? I think you should go for the harp, because as you say, it was something, it's there in your head. And I think deep down, and you know, that's the other thing. I've had parents come to me in the past and go, you know, I bought a fiddle for them and I want them to learn the fiddle, whatever. And then you talk to the child and say, well, I'd rather learn the concertina. And I say to parents, don't make them play the fiddle if it's the concertina. Now, within reason. Clearly, if a child is looking for a big, expensive instrument and you're not sure if they'll stick at it. But the great thing now is a lot of Comhaltas branches, and with grants and everything, there's rental schemes, which is a major help to kids. So, I mean, for instance, in the branch of Cultus that I'm teaching in, every year they have rental for banjos, harps, you know, a number, so they can rent those instruments
I don't
out
know
to
if you've
kids.
noticed, but I'm not a kid.
I think you should get yourself that harp.
My mother got a little violin when she was a child, and she was learning to play it. And she was an only child like me, but her 5 first cousins, my grandmother reared them, so, and they were all boys. And my Uncle George, who I adored, he was my mother's first cousin, but I called him Uncle George. He was so annoyed with my mother because he used to love to read. He was always a bookworm, and he was so annoyed with the music she was playing, he threw it in the fire. And she never ever.
Oh no! Oh no!
Fire. He said that'll shut her up, and I mean her whole family were either uilleann pipe. Her first cousins were All Ireland champion uilleann pipers, Bill and Andy,
wow.
And they were all musicians. And my grandmother played the concertina, and was a traditional Irish dancer, and all that. So the music was in the family. So my mum was a soprano, but she was trying to learn the violin, and he literally threw it in the fire.
Oh no! Oh dear! Oh dear!
I don't think she cared. I think she was
Well,
forced into the violin, to be honest with you, because she never had it.
But you know, you have an awful lot of people who will try when they're young. Violin, fiddle, it's a very difficult instrument. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, if you can play fiddle, you can play anything. You know?
Say it's the devil's instrument because it's so difficult.
It is.
My favorite musician of all times is Yitzhak Perlman, who played the music for Schindler's List. And Yitzhak Perlman will always say that even at this stage, he finds that there's something he can learn.
He can learn. Absolutely. And I think that's what keeps the music interesting, is there's always something you can learn, you know. But anyway, I'll give this waltz a go, and
what you call it?
I called this the Banks. It was the other day, the 1st of May, a beautiful day, and I went out for a walk along by the river here, and looking at the birds and actually the wildflowers, and it just reminded me of when I was young. And I can remember it would come to May and you'd sneak off from the house. We lived up on what was known as the top road, up on the mountain, and then the village was in the valley and the river. And God, my parents wouldn't even know. And I'd sneak off with my dog and down along the banks of the river, and I couldn't even swim. And I'd be picking the wildflowers and just off for rambles. I was always into rambling, you know, and it just reminded me of that. And I came home and I just sat down and this waltz just came to me. So I called it the Banks of the Olacon. The
Banks of the Olacon, and we'll dedicate this to Maureen O'Rourke.
We will indeed. We will indeed. So I have all my music for it and that, so we'll be able to add that to it. So the Banks of the Olacon.
was absolutely fabulous. It really was,
Thank
Joanne.
you. Thank
You go
you.
by Joanne or Anne?
I go by Joanne. Yeah. Yeah.
But,
And the nickname you talked about earlier on, that's
and
what some of the music friends called me when I was young, because Joanne on the banjo, and they just nicknamed me
but it's
Banjoanne.
absolutely
So
perfect because it's Banjo.
A-N-N-E, yeah.
You
So
know, and you know, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Which is your favorite instrument?
the banjo. As much as I love all the other instruments, again, like you with the harp, the banjo, I just can remember always wanting to play the banjo. And the gas thing was, my father then put me on accordion for a couple of years. I remember starting the banjo, and to be honest, I think it was the mandolin itself. It was cutting the fingers off me, and it wasn't a great one, and I couldn't play it, so I kind of stopped. So he put me on the accordion when I was about maybe 9 or 10, and I was going to Danny Barry for that. I hated it. The accordion was not for me. It just wasn't for me.
Either. I just would hate anything.
Yeah.
Or anything that you'd have to.
That was the button accordion, not piano accordion. It was button
flute.
accordion. Yeah, flute.
Nothing like that you'd have to blow into. I always thought they weren't as glamorous.
Yeah. But and then I said, no, you know what? I want to go back to the banjo. And at this point then I had gotten a banjo, an actual full-size banjo. And that's it. I never gave up the banjo again. And I would say it's still my favorite.
Accordions are great for men, I think. I think they're cumbersome. I mean, it's the 4'10" trying to drag around an accordion with you.
Yeah. Well, now this was button accordion now, not piano accordion. Oh Jesus, I wouldn't even touch piano accordion. It would be bigger than myself.
Karen Shannon is amazing on the button.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Truly amazing. And as I say, my grandmother played the concertina, which isn't too unlike it, and it's tiny as well, you know. And she was a traditional singer, but you know, so you know, I by rights, I mean, I am musical. Just have never played an instrument and always wanted to. So it's kind of a long promise to myself that it's going to happen. So I suppose at any age you can take up an instrument. Do you think?
Oh, you totally can. Absolutely. I mean, over the years, most of my one-to-one lessons would be very often with retirees who bought it when they retired, because that was they were always going to learn something when they retired, and a lot of them wanted the banjo. I find the retired men, for some reason they're drawn to the banjo. So I would have a lot of retirees come to me learning the banjo. And I love teaching them. I love teaching adults, and the reason I don't get me wrong, I love teaching the kids, but sometimes it's the parents who have the kids in, and it takes them a while to get to grips with it or whatever, and you don't always have the rapport with them initially, you know. Whereas if the adults come to you, you know they really want to learn the instrument.
This is it. It's the same with adults going back to third level.
Yeah,
they're the ones that really do well in exams, because they know
they went back to do it. Yeah, they want it.
What you want to do. It's not something that you feel you have to do because it's a rite of passage.
Yes.
This is something that you, well, I'm so glad that Michael Dillon in San Francisco said to me, you have to have Joanne on the show. She's fantastic. She goes by Banjoanne. And I had visions of somebody with a piece of straw coming out of hillbilly when I was thinking Banjoanne. I was thinking
do you know what, when you say that, I can remember some of the friends used to sing when I was young, and they go, you know, oh Joanna, won't you play for me, because she comes from Tournafulla with her banjo on her knee.
I looked at the photograph and I said, oh my God, she's so glamorous. And so you know, I'm thinking a big straw hat now and a piece of straw hanging.
Actually, I'm looking at the photograph that you're using there behind you, and on the left, the accordion is actually my brother James. Yeah. And to the right of me then, or to my left, I should say, is my sister Martha. She's on the whistle there. Yeah. So
You really are the Von Trapp family, musicians.
Uh,
So
yeah.
what's going to happen now, Anne or Joanne? Are you going to regret, in a sense? Will you um, yearn for? I know nobody says yearn for COVID, but the time that it's given you to be around your family and the time that it's allowed you to actually get to know them musically.
Yeah. No, I'm very much looking forward to getting back out there. I'm craving a session like you wouldn't believe. And you know, our summers, last summer you dealt with it because that's just how it was. Our summers, we're never here, we're gone. And we just look forward to spending the summer having the crack with our music friends. And we didn't get that last year. And we thought, no, you know what, that's okay. There's no harm in taking 1 year off, and let's, I mean, we have connected musically here at home. We're doing projects, that I think that'll continue. But I very much want to get back out there again and meet my friends face to face, have the laugh with them, have the tunes. And
you think as an only child that you'd be used to your own company, and you are, but eventually even your own company gets to you at, after a while, because, it's one thing choosing and being like you are into music, and you're able to find something to occupy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But even at that, there's, you need to actually, the physicality of meeting up with people.
Oh, you do, yeah.
Hugging people, just knowing that there's another human being in the same space as you, in physical space as you. Zooms are great, but they'll never replace.
They'll never replace the real thing. No, absolutely not. So I'm looking forward to getting back, and I'm looking forward to it for my kids as well, because it's hard on them. It's hard on kids. It's hard on teenagers. Because they're at a time in their life where being with their friends is all they want to do. And so I have to say, I admire majority of them who have really, really done their bit throughout this time. It's been tough on them.
Have they got back to school without any problem?
Yeah, they're back to school. But the gas thing is, we were only back a couple of weeks, and in both my daughter's school and my son's school, within 20 minutes of each other, I got the text to say there were cases in the school. So we've had quite a few cases in the schools already after being back. But hopefully now, as this vaccination rolls out, and that, it might.
I was looking at one of the government ministers the other day. I was just trying to check to see if I could find her name there. I can't think of who it is. And she said her daughter is only now starting to go back to school because she has been completely distraught. Every day she goes in, the teachers have to ring her to come back. She lasted 1 hour the first day. She lasted a half a day the next day.
And what age is she?
She's just gone into secondary, I think. And she said she is just not coping with the fear of being around other people. And I think that the media has done.
Yeah, but it's not just that for her. She's only gone into secondary school. I feel very, very sorry for the likes of first years, because they went into secondary school in pods, not being allowed to mix with anybody outside of a particular group in a class, having to wear, my daughter, they have to wear masks constantly. So they're getting no opportunity to make new friends. They're getting no opportunity to get involved in clubs in the school so they can, get out there and meet new people. They are so the first years, we were lucky in that she's in second year. So she had an opportunity to, get her first year and get in there and settled. But for the first years of the moment, I mean, they're isolated. They've never got, and it's the same with those who started college this year, in the last year, or those who started last year. They're not getting to have a college life.
Telling a child, I don't know how you feel about it, telling a child that they have to go in from 9 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon wearing a mask and not how are they getting oxygen into their lungs?
I don't know. I know we're struggling at the moment. My daughter, the backs of her ears, and I was really afraid of infection. So we've tried all different types of things around her ears with the masks, but her skin, it's cutting, it's raw. We've really struggled with that to try and keep it under bay and not to develop infection so much, so they it's I suppose their skin is still developing, then they're teenagers, so they're going through all the hormonal changes in their skin. So I'm finding it's and
really... then in America the other day, last week, there was some athletics college. They were compelling all the students to run with their masks on. And one girl lost consciousness, but her body propelled her to the finishing line. And she was out for, I think it was 20 minutes. And now they've banned the masks for running. You have to take in oxygen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a mask over your face for 8 hours from 9 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, how can they concentrate when they can hardly, when they're not? You have to breathe in carbon or oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide in order to survive.
And for brain function. It's tough on them. Hopefully by September there might be. I'm hoping that they'll be able to not have to wear masks.
It's insanity. I do. I'm just it's a bugbear with me. I just think it's just terrible when their little lungs are still developing.
Yeah.
They're not, and their skin, as you say, hasn't developed properly. It's going through changes, hormonal changes and everything. But Joanne, thank you so very, very much for being on my show.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to be there.
Absolute pleasure, and all of the videos that you've sent, and if you send me the video of you playing that beautiful piece that we've got an exclusive on.
You have the exclusive because I'm only working on it at the moment. I will indeed send it to you.
Once you send that to me, I'll put all of your music top at the start and at the end, and a piece in the middle, and maybe 2 pieces in the middle now because of the piece that you're going to send me. So until we meet, hopefully in the once we're all back, we'll get to meet each other in physicality. And thanks ever so much.
Thank you.
Clare, that's the end of the show for today. Until the next time, le cúnamh dé, Bowallam Tugalir Chicana, Sonas Agus Gra, Agus Gade Shiv Slán. Gade Shiv Slán.
Slán.